now tuned in to Insight Sundays, the show that brings you relevant news, youth topics with a new mission and focus for our communities.
What's going on, Indianapolis? It's your main man, Adrian Mickens. And once again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in to the show of Insight Sundays presented by Harambe Production here on AM 1310 The Light. As always, we definitely got to give a special shout out to all of our sponsors. But right before that, we want to thank everybody who just tuned in for downtown at the Julia Carson Transit Center for Amos Brown's tribute and early voting that we had today. And we're going to kind of tether in on that and have an extra special show down here at the station live too as well. So for our sponsors, we want to give a special shout out to Buttons and Bows Hair Salon, Bethesda Southeast Campus, R&S Menswear, Studio 14 Hair Salon, Sam Ash Music Store, Fishers of Men Ministries, who's also in studio today, and Beach Grove Bible Church. All right, so let's get right into it. We have a very special guest who's here today to kind of chime in and piggyback on what was going on downtown with the early voting. Today we have Mrs. Ashley Gurvitz.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. And I think you're pretty familiar here with AM 1310. I know you've been here down here a couple times before.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and get into the spiel. What's your title and position down here in Indianapolis? What is it exactly that you do?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on the air today. But as mentioned, my name is Ashley Gurvitz, current president of our Indiana Young Democrats. So anything Young Dem, 35 and younger for the state of Indiana, it's definitely an honor to help serve under that capacity. Then also president of our Marion County Young Democrats, so super local perspective of Young Dem initiatives. And then also too, I have the awesome opportunity to witness some of the great things happening at the State House as a legislative assistant.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Well, let me ask this question. As the leaders of a youth movement, you know, that's kind of what I'm getting a feel of. As a leader of the youth movement, is it easy or is hard for them to get to understand about what's going on with legislation or the judicial system? How does that work?
That's a very complex question. I think what it is, the things we're seeing in society, from a millennial standpoint, we know the issues very well. The problem is that where we're able to understand the historical significance of movements of the past. Correct. And understanding that those movements really had that of the intermix of the political, the governmental structures that help make that extra way of having long-term impact. Yes. That would be really where the trouble is, but it's a good trouble because I think those individuals that are actively out on the campaign trails or in their current roles working in public service, they're fighting that and they are teaching some really remarkable things. So, just kind of moving forward, hopefully we can see more individuals wanting to be more receptive. Gotcha.
Understandable. I appreciate that. So let's talk about early voting. I know today, literally, if you guys were not downtown and you did not see right across from the city county building, the Julia Carson Transit Center where everybody was today, the line was from Delaware wrapped around all the way to Alabama. It was that long of early voters. Yes. Obviously, we can't tell you who to vote for, but at least people was out there early voting. Yes. So is that the only place to early vote down there is the city county building? And, kind of fill everybody in on that.
Good question. For Marion County itself, that would be your prime voting location. Okay. If, for instance, maybe Johnson County, Hamilton County, so forth, there are various areas of voting satellites or voting centers that you may see. But for our Marion County community, the city county building is the only location. Now, of course, there are long lines. I say do not be discouraged about those lines. They're actually moving pretty fast because I tell you, our county clerk, Mila Eldridge, and her phenomenal staff have been prepping for this day since the day she took office. Yes. And so it's a very efficient process. And just know, even if it's an hour, just think about the literally century aspects of some of our, peers of the past and our trailblazers that fought for that right.
Yes.
So, just hang on in there.
I know we take for granted the civil rights era.
Yes.
I definitely encourage any young person who's listening right now, especially on Facebook. Once again, anybody who's listening, find us on Facebook, Insight Sundays. Once again, that's Facebook, Insight Sundays. You can watch this live and chime in with us. But I always encourage for our millennials, as we like to call them, to watch Selma.
Yes.
I know it's kind of a modern movie of what went on in the civil rights era, and it was only a snippet of what went on in the civil rights era, but it talks so much about what we're going through right now.
Correct.
And that is the voting process. They spoke on a lot of the things where if you're not registered to vote, the things that you cannot do, like be a juror. That stuff is important, because on the opposite end, I call it oxymoron. African Americans complain about, hey, we're not getting, black people who's judging or being a jury to our black people who's on trial. So if you don't take the initiative to vote because you don't care, then you can't be an assistance long term. We always think about what's going on short term. Now, me personally, I'm a long term thinker. Anybody who ever knows that. And I think that we miss that key point of not being long term thinkers and just thinking, oh, I don't care about the candidacy. But it goes longer than that, of things that you cannot do. What's some other things if you don't vote? What are you not able to do?
Well,
or register, I should say.
Yeah, I look at it this way, and have been trying to speak this into existence as much as possible. I know typically with the election time, we hear your vote, your voice, excuse me. But I look at it as your vote, your power. If you think about just even with the significance of today, with it being Amos Brown Day,
yes,
his voice was so powerful.
Yes, it was.
Because with that, we already know he was doing his research as far as who's on the ballot. In addition to that, he was making sure individuals did their homework before speaking to him. And he was asking those questions to help make changes for our community, especially that of our minority community. And if we look at statistics, specifically here in the Hoosier State or nationally, it typically is marginalized in other, communities of color. So with that, aspect of now the power of your vote. Yes. We've seen wonderful things that have happened through legislation with the late, Bill Crawford, Representative Summers, Representative Howard. I'm going old school, and I know I'm a millennial, but
that's all right. No, we need to talk like this.
We need it,
and people need to know who's in our age group as a millennial. And I consider that that 70s generation on down. I'm 80s baby. I'm pretty sure maybe you're 80s baby.
80s baby.
Okay,
late 80s.
So
okay.
Yep. So we're both late 80s babies. So that's all right. So we are the millennials, and it is our time to pick up that baton.
Yes.
And run it, and and do that groundwork, the leg work, and get door knocking and letting people know. So here's the next good question. I know we can't tell people who to vote for. You just can't do that.
That's correct.
But the whole purpose of voting is to know, what are you voting for? So
correct.
What should people be voting for?
First and foremost, their self.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. The institutions, as far as government itself, are always going to be there. I mean, unless there's some major anarchy, sons of anarchy, if we want to pull that in, that comes into place of our lives. But the rules and regulations are set in place to provide order. Constitution, we the people. Yeah. But we have to realize, especially in our communities of color, that we are a part of that we the people. So we need to be included in that process.
Yes.
And the way we make the changes we want to see is by being a part of that process. So if it's that of the single mother and she's just needing that of the means of making sure the family she's providing for, they have a wonderful future, feel free to speak up.
Yes.
Research who is on the ballot, and if they are able to understand the means as far as what's happening in your household. For that of the millennial, I know myself, I'm very much passionate, of course, about voter outreach and education. But one thing that really transpired me to be a part of the process is when Trayvon Martin died, right? So we have the social justice aspect.
Yes.
Think about that in comparison today with the Black Lives Matter movement. We have to make sure you feel connected with circling on the ballot who you think best reflects you.
Yeah.
And the leadership you want.
And just to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, without name dropping on candidates, because people, I want you guys to decide, for yourself. We don't want to sway your vote, quote unquote. But the things that are happening now in this generation in time, meaning this millennium generation, is no different than what happened prior before. When we're talking about the Board of Education, we're talking about Emmett Till. These things that are happening is nothing but a reoccurrence. History always repeats itself. And if you don't study on these things, you don't understand, because just to name drop on this one, we have our Republican candidate who's creating a lot of friction. I'm just going to be honest, and I'm just going to be real. He's creating a lot of friction. And what you don't understand is, if you don't know your history behind it, there's already been presidents who's either walked into something like that or created something in that way. I'm talking about in our 19th and 20th century presidents, the one that we spend all the time, Mr. Andrew Jackson, who was considered a war hero from George Washington, who was one of our first presidents, and he pushed the Indians west and created an Indian Act. You see what I mean? So these things are nothing but reoccurrence when we say, hey, we're going to put a wall up against the Latino community. This is nothing but history repeating itself. So you need to understand who you're voting into office, because this can cause to be a serious problem of friction, and nobody wants to go to war in that sense, especially close to home in our own territorial lines. I mean, the wars that we're fighting now is not no good, but at least it's overseas. You're bringing something to border lines that's a lot more closer than what you think that it is. So, what are your thoughts and opinions on that?
Well, since you mentioned the wall, I think it's great if a wall is going to be brick and mortar, but we have to realize with our candidates too, the influence they have, even from a subliminal standpoint. Do we want a candidate that is going to help unify and help heal some of the adversities we continuously see? Or do we want to have a candidate that is causing their own building of walls and decisiveness? That is pushing our cultural entities to move further and further apart, just like a rope. If it has enough, pull in opposite directions, it's going to fray and break. We're not the divided states. We are United States.
Absolutely.
And I mean,
we went through that with the Civil War.
It was Civil War. And if anything, I'm a big history buff, but I cannot stress it enough to understand history. There's a lot that you're able to evaluate. Are we going to look at our historical standpoint of a way of what we want to happen, or are we going to ignore history and then allow candidates to, move us further apart? We're seeing these same tactics. In the past, when we look at even, for instance, the civil rights movement, and earlier you referred to Selma, right?
Yes,
There was that phenomenal scene where Oprah, who was the played in the movie, she went to vote. Excuse me.
Sorry.
And she had the poll tax question, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that alone is something we're even kind of seeing today with the scare tactics. We don't have to have a quiz.
Yeah, just in a different way.
Just in a different way.
Just in a different way. That's all it is. It's packaged differently.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Everything is electronic, which was another thing too. The early voting, is anything available online, or it is? Okay.
Well, as far as early voting, not the means of voting electronically,
Gotcha. Okay.
But with early voting, there are many ways as far as checking out where your poll location is, who's on your ballots, general questions as far as confirming your registration, all of that. One of the primary things, since it is government based, we'll look at is indianavoters.com.
Gotcha.
That will give you anything and everything you need as far as being prepared, knowing your polling location if you aren't utilizing that of early voting, which I'm going to put my plug in. Early voting ends tomorrow at noon.
Gotcha.
So be in line if you look to early vote by noon tomorrow.
You hear that? Once again, by noon tomorrow, you have to early vote. And what's the location?
So it's going to be down at the City County building, which is, I'm please forgive me doing it off the top of my head. 200 East Market, Washington Street. Washington Street. There we go.
Yep, I'm there with you. Yep.
But you won't miss it. There's a accessible entrance. They're on the west side of the building. They're on Delaware. And also as well, don't let downtown parking scare you. I know that there's even been measures made of free parking. Just got to do a little bit of research, but there are many means to try to make that process as easy as possible for you.
Got you. Well, at this time, we're going to go ahead and transition over to our next segment and go to break here. Right before we do that, once again, for all of our Facebook listeners or anybody who's listening in the car, again, you can find us on Facebook at Insight Sundays. Once again, that's Facebook at Insight Sundays. For everybody who's still listening, make sure you tune in on Tuesday. We're going to have an extension special edition to this show with Ashley Gurvitz so we can get some behind the scenes information about what we need to do post-election. So once again, tune in on Tuesday at 12 noon for exclusive footage on Facebook Insight Sundays. We'll be back. Welcome back, Indianapolis. It's your main man, Adrian Mickens. And as always, we want to let everybody know if you want to chime in or get your comments heard, we definitely want you to go to Facebook on Insight Sundays. Once again, that's Facebook at Insight Sundays. We are live. So on our second segment, we have a dynamic group here in the city, or organization to be more specific, who's reaching out to the public and the gospel through the gospel ministry of stage play. And in the studio today, we have Fishers of Men Ministries. So we're just going to go around. You guys can introduce yourselves, and then we can just chime right in on the interview.
Hello, I am Tanya Majors, and I am the founders of Fishers of Men Ministries.
Hey, everybody. This is Tasha Pittman. I'm a business advisor with Fishers of Men Ministries.
Praise the Lord, City of Indianapolis. This is Pastor Akers of the Unveiled Church of Jesus Christ.
All right, so we're going to start here first with Miss Tanya. So can you explain to us what made you want to create this organization, this gospel organization, to reach out to the community?
Well, after hearing of the murders and the constant crimes that were going on in our city, I just began to ponder in myself, what could I do in order to be a part of the solution? And so I had been doing plays since 1996. And after seeing a reaction from the different youth of my church and different visitors, I just realized that it was, in fact, a ministry and it was impacting people's lives. And so I said maybe I could do plays as a form of solution.
I got you. So was it something that you had done before, like on your own? Was you an actress in your time?
No, sir.
Oh, okay, all right. You just get everybody together.
Yes,
everybody need a facilitator. Y'all were actors before? You actor? No, actress, I should say, no?
Actually, I was not, but he was. He's done some, Pastor Akers. So.
It's all right. It's all right. So what is your role, with the organization?
Well, actually, I got to be a part of Fishers of Men last year. It's my first year, and so I'm excited to be able to do it again this year. But really, I just served as being that liaison, the guru, to help with the marketing, help, just any way that I can, the business aspect of it, and keep things going. So, and just help be that advisor for Tanya, and definitely be a voice and an advocate for such a great ministry and vision. So we're just here to execute in Jesus' name to help her reach the souls of men out here. So
it's all right. And Pastor Akers, what's your vision here with Fishers of Men?
Yes, sir. I've actually been with Sister Tanya since '99.
Okay.
And I actually was in one of her plays.
Yes.
Awesome.
And even through rehearsal and it really impacted me. And I remember inviting a lot of my friends out, and it impacted them and my family members. And so I've always just been on board with her vision. God, she's very humble, but God really uses her. And so, I'm the in-house pastor. And so anything that she needs me to do as far as a servant, she knows she has my help.
Well, not to take away from Fishers of Men's Ministry, but what called you, well, I know it's the Holy Spirit, but what called you internally, to become a pastor? What spoke to you to go ahead and do that?
Really my testimony. I grew up in the inner city here, and just young and in the streets, wild, and I experienced the power of God for myself.
Yeah.
And as I grew and I started serving in the prison ministry that our local Agape church, where I got saved. We used to go out there. And in the midst of doing those things, God called me. to be able to help and do my part.
So where's the church located at, where people can come and visit?
1701 Dr. Andrew J. Brown.
Awesome. You hear that, Thomas Brown, Dr. Brown? We got somebody on your street.
That's
the church
right.
is right here. That's all
Right in the heart.
That's all right. Right on your dash street. So, all right. So let's just kind of follow in and let's talk about this play that's actually coming up.
Yes.
What's it? The Lost and Found. The Lost and Found.
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about that.
So excited about the Lost and Found. It is the modern day prodigal son.
All right.
So it's not going to be your ordinary prodigal son story. So we want you guys to come out on November the 18th at 7 p.m. and November the 19th at 1. It's going to be an awesome experience. Yes. We can't wait.
Well, let me ask you this question. How did you do your casting? Like, how do you find your actors and your actresses to be a part of your organization? I know they had to be faith-based Christians, or how does that work?
Well, originally we just started with our church group, the people from our church. And so we're just now starting to branch out and invite other people that would like to be a part of the ministry.
Okay. All right.
And so we did, if I can just add to that, we did have some auditions. So we reached out, got some new talent, got some other churches involved.
Yes.
So Pastor Akers has been so gracious to be able to allow us to be in the center and the heart of the city, to be able to reach out to the community. So we had auditions at his church, got response, got some new talent, some new things. So you're going to be blessed when you come out, because it's not just a play. This is ministry. So we have some talented actors and singers and ministers that are going to be a part. So I'm excited. We're excited.
Yes, indeed.
So you guys got to come out and see it.
Now, I know you mentioned before, one of the reasons why you wanted to start this organization because of, the crimes and stuff that was going on nationwide.
Yes.
So would you say that your primary audience, I mean, I know you want everybody to come and grow the brand largely, but is your main target the youth that you really want to come to these plays that you guys have?
I would say yes. I would say yes. We want to provoke change in their hearts and minds, and we also want to inspire them and let them know that they can do other things with their lives other than things that are destructive.
Well, this isn't necessarily a question. If somebody wants to be a part, like a young person listening right now who has all the aspiration to be an actor or an actress, where can they go to contact you guys at to get a part of what you guys got going on?
Tasha?
Yes, we are always looking and definitely want to work with the youth. That's what we're here for. So you can definitely give us an email. Shoot us an email at fishers419@gmail.com. Check us out. Also, there's a link on our website. It's not just a play, fishersofmen.org. Go to that contact. We're checking that constantly. We're looking. Definitely want to involve as many people as we can to spread this gospel of Jesus Christ through ministry and theater. So hit us up that way. We're always looking. Check us out on Facebook.
Yes.
Go to our page, like us, look out for different contacts there. We're always on there as well. So look us up, facebook.com/INJPFOMM. That stands for our ministry. So you can't forget that. Check us out. That's some ways to get in contact with us. So.
All right. Now, Pastor Akers, did they bring you out of retirement? Are you in the play? Or
Not this time.
The elder station. Okay, the elder station was not in the play this time. They didn't bring you out of retirement. Maybe one day they get you out of retirement. So, where's the location for the play?
The play is going to be at the Ivy Tech Community College, the Lawrence campus. I'm not sure of the address, but it is the
9301 East 59th Street.
Okay, so a landmark is the Fort Benjamin Harrison.
Yes.
That's the biggest landmark. Everybody know what that is. You go out there for the fireworks, the big track, and you also go horseback riding and stuff out there. So, again, Ivy Tech Community College right out there towards that direction.
Yes.
So, I guess, again, is there any last thing specifically about the play? Like, if you want to give them like a sneak peek, like, what is it that the play is consistent of? What's the dialogue of it?
Well, like I told you before, it is the modern day prodigal son. So we're going to talk about decisions. We're going to talk about decisions. Your decisions affect other people. We're going to talk about how everyone in the church is not actually in the church. So we're going to deal with those issues as well.
Yes.
So you guys come out. We got some good stuff for you. Good stuff. That's all we're going to give you today.
Okay. All right. We don't want to
leak something. She
Can they get tickets? That's another good question. Can they get tickets online or everything is just at the door?
Yes, so you can definitely get those tickets in advance. Again, check us out on Facebook. Also, go to our website. It's not just to play, fishersofmen.org. You're going to see a big yellow button on the top that takes you right to our ticketing site. Only $10. flat out, no extra fee, $10. Okay. So just keep that in mind. It's all going towards the ministry.
Yes.
Nonprofit, we're always looking for extra sponsors and that support as well. So we appreciate everything, and even that $10 donation is going back to pour into the ministry for the kingdom of God. So
now, just for clarification, is that $10 just before and then maybe a little extra at the door, like $15, or just $10 all the way around the border?
It's $10 online. You get those tickets in advance. It's $12 at the door.
12,
so,
okay. So
yes,
just $2 extra. So just go ahead and get them in advance, y'all.
Might
if
as
you hear
well.
what's going on. Just get them in advance and come check out this dynamic play at a great location. Actually, kind of familiar with that theater there at Ivy Tech. It's very nice and nice seating, the whole 9 yards.
Yes.
So you guys gonna have food and refreshments for like an intermission there too, or
We will, yes.
Okay,
we
so,
will.
all right, y'all hear
It's
that,
gonna be
everybody?
some good stuff.
Food. That'll get them there. Now, I don't know if it's free or not, but I know it's gonna be
Nominal.
food.
But it will be food.
All
Nominal
right.
fee, all to support again the ministry, 100%. But you can't miss it. Good stuff all the way around.
All the way around.
Feed your soul and your belly,
Yeah,
so you
there
can't
was
miss that.
You can't beat it. So once again, we do appreciate you guys for coming out. Once again, for everybody who's downtown driving around, stop by, check out the whole Radio 1 family. We're down at the Julia Carson Transit Center, right across the street from the City County building. We're doing some early voting. Go check us out. They got some fun field activities going down there. Get your photos taken, the whole 9 yards. Once again, I'm your main man, Adrian Mickens, here on Insight Sundays. Again, check out the exclusive on next Tuesday for the second half of the election day with Ashley Gurvitz, and I will check you guys out next time.